Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Director's Garage Live Friday Happy Hour Hangout here in beautiful California. Folks, we're bracing for impact. We've got a hurricane coming through. A full-blown hurricane is on its way to Los Angeles, and it will be here, I don't know, like Saturday night, Sunday morning, something like that. Don't know what to expect. You get all kinds. Look, I'm listening to the Meze Elite today. We've got the Mezes out. Wonderful Mezes. Great sounding headphone. Love those. Most comfortable headphone on the planet, in my opinion. What else is going on? So, you know, end of the world, end of days. Hurricane headed for the Director's Garage Palace and Studios. So glad we bought. New place. It's gonna get washed out or blown away or one or the other or something. Cheers, everybody. It's Friday. We made it through the week. Everybody's unscathed relatively. Topic today, I was going to talk about concerts today. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Last episode dropped, that was the Expanse, Dan Clark Audio Expanse, which is still back here. Here we go. Hanging out. Still got a place here in the garage. Haven't sold them off yet. Thinking about it, though. Thinking about possible moves that could involve this headphone. And then... what else? Oh, I've got an IEM episode coming up next. I've got a bunch of IEM sitting over here we're going to talk about. And I'm trying to get some scoop on stuff that's coming out. Unfortunately, I don't have the Thai Audio Monarch 3. And I wish I had that headphone because that would be a fun one to include. Just these are financial realities. I can't go and drop $1,000 on a headphone anymore. So, you know, maybe my friends at Linsol will take pity on me and throw me a line with one, but to review anyway. That's IEM episode is next. I'm going to focus, though, on the budget end of the spectrum. Everybody complains all the time that, your stuff is so expensive and we can't afford it and I can only watch and, you know, and fantasize and this and that. And it's just, you know, I do the higher end stuff because that's where you guys show up for. So I try to give you what you guys want, and you seem to show up every time I do something relatively expensive. You guys have very expensive taste, apparently. Not for your director, but for the headphones. And cheers, everyone. What are you all drinking today? Chime in the chat. Oh, the chat's filling up quick. Goodness me, I got to get this in a more readable area so I can follow it. We'll put it here for right now. That's not any better. That's better. That's better. Okay, so we'll get to the chat in just a second, guys. Get your questions in, get your comments in. We'll talk about it. Expanse episode did pretty damn well. I'm very happy with that. You know, like I said, budget IEMs are next, and I know you guys want to hear what's out there that's good, and we're going to audition a couple of new ones, or they're not new anymore. They were new when I bought them, but they've been sitting in a box in between the move and all of that, so they're about 3 or 4 months old now, but, you know, we're doing the best we can here. But I've been meaning to do a budget IEM, and I'm going to try and get some dirt on some new stuff that's coming out. I've got some, I've been asking around, so we'll see if we can include that stuff too. But that episode will be dropping, I don't know, I'm hoping next week, but, well, if the Director's Garage is still here... It's like giant. I'm looking at a map. I'm looking at a satellite picture. I can't show you because it's on the monitor, but there is a giant, massive hurricane, and it's right for our house. Don't know what to expect there. Could be anything. Yeah, and the other thing I was doing this week is we're starting to get some viewers in, so I'm going to start talking about the main subject I was going to talk about today. Concerts. Now, I've never been like the craziest concert goer. I go to a concert every now and then, and as I'm getting older, I'm going to fewer and fewer, and mostly because I don't want to deal with the crowd and the hassle and the parking and you get the people and all that. Like, I don't know. So I haven't been doing as many, but this week I started catching up because YouTube is this great format. People have been streaming full concerts to YouTube that they've seen. And I'm going to give you a tale of two concerts. I sat through some, I didn't sit through all, of the Taylor Swift Eras concert. Somebody streamed all 3 hours and 40 minutes of that thing to YouTube. I don't know what supersonic phone they were using to keep maybe they must have had a big battery pack plugged into it to keep it charged and going all that time. But the guy was like this the whole concert. So I just wanted to see what the fuss was about, because I'm not somebody who's going to pay $1,000 to go see T Swift. I'm sorry, I'm not a Swiftie. I do appreciate some of her albums, and I particularly like Folklore. I thought Folklore was an album that resonated with me. It was interesting. It was interesting sonically. It was interesting thematically, and it was at a time when we were all isolated, and I felt like that album actually kind of connected to me on some level, and I thought it was musically interesting, and I loved the themes of that album and the stories she was telling, because she, for the first time in that record, she didn't make the record personal, meaning about herself and her own life and stuff, but she made it, she wrote a story about characters. She kind of played out, it was a thematic thing. They were telling a story of these three people. Anyway, I wanted to see what the fuss was about, because everybody at work, I work with younger folks. I'm old as dirt, and most of the ladies in the office went to see Taylor Swift when she was in Los Angeles for the 6 shows, and they sold out. She sold out SoFi, which is a massive outdoor, indoor. It's got like a cover arena, but it's retractable. But they kind of shut the whole time. And just to do that is, there's little denying that she and Beyonce are probably the 2 biggest stars in the music world right now. I don't think there's anybody bigger in terms of sheer popularity. And to be able to sell out SoFi, that stadium, for 6 straight days, she added $1.8 million to the economy of Los Angeles while she was here. That's what that concert did. And so I played back. There was a concert on YouTube. It's the full 3 hours and 40 minutes of the Eras tour in Santa Clarita. No, it's not right. Santa Clara, maybe. I don't know. It was up north. It was up in that like middle of the state kind of region, and it was spectacular. It was. Like I said, it's not something that I would normally. I don't think I would want to go to the concert myself, but for her to hold an audience and keep them so involved for 3 hours and 40 minutes. I would have been miserable if I was there. The nice thing is that I could skip around a little bit, but I did want to catch what she was doing, because a show like that has to be very rehearsed and very specific, and I wanted to see what changed night to night, because I saw some other clips and I compared some stuff, and it was kind of interesting. The basics of the show, though, are identical every single night, and they have to be when you're doing that much material. And she has marks to hit, and she hits every mark, and there's lifts that pop up out of the floor, and there's holes in the back of the video screen where they can slide stuff in, slide stuff out. They had a couple of gags that they used and sort of repurposed. I thought it was interesting to see the staging of it. It's sheer spectacle. It was really, it's a wonderful show and thought out. But for her to hold her voice for that long, singing 3 hours and 40 minutes, and it's all her. She doesn't walk off the stage much other than to change her clothes. And she's right back up singing in the next song. So it's not like there's these big, huge gaps where she just disappears and they dazzle you with, dancers or whatever. There's a couple of interludes where she's got to go and do a wardrobe change, and then she's right back up and singing again. I found that to be just what a feat of, and to do that night after night after night. In LA, she had one night off. She had took Sunday off, but it was, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was unbelievable that she did all of that back to back to back to back, and be able to, and she's running and she's dancing and doing all the stuff. And I'm like, damn, I mean, talk about an athletic situation. So that was part one. And then this morning, you know, when you watch something on YouTube, it starts showing other things that were like that. And saw that I spent a lot of time watching this Taylor Swift thing. The audio wasn't very good, by the way. Unfortunately, it was, you know, iPhone audio. But I did want to, I was more for the spectacle and seeing it, and I wanted to see what her interactions were like. And she kept everything mostly the same. There's two songs that change in every show. There's two acoustic numbers that she swaps out every night, and the claim was she didn't repeat a single one of those two songs on the entire tour. So everybody who came got something different, something fresh, which is fine, you know. But then I watched. What popped up into my feed was Genesis. It was their last London show on this last tour that they did. And it was so hard to watch. Phil Collins is in really bad physical shape. I mean, he comes out in a cane, and he comes and he says, and there's nothing against that. Look, I don't care. You know, we've seen Dave Grohl go out there on crutches and slay. We've seen, you know, all sorts of stuff, but he just hobbles out there on a cane and he sits in a chair, and I'm thinking, well, this is going to be interesting. Like when he came out on the stage, I'm like, well, this is either going to be really great or really tragic. And it was the latter. It was just so hard to watch. And it's nothing against, you know, he can't move around. Look, I'm fine with him not moving around. But you've got to deliver a performance. People are paying money to come and see. And maybe they're just coming to see the, you know, what was, you know, or it would take themselves back, I guess, like a nostalgic kind of thing. But his voice was so weak. You look at an album like Mama from the 1980s, and it's an aggressive vocal on that record. Like the vocals, except for That's All, which was more of a sing-songy, you know, on the top of everything. They're like the song Mama he's belting. He is just belting. And to hear him in such frail voice, and he's struggling even on pitch, and he can't get enough wind across his vocal cords to project. He's not singing confidently. It's just everything is so weak, and he can't. And then they've even helped him out by lowering all the songs a full key. So you know, if a song was sung in A, they're singing it in like B flat, or you know, they're F. You know, I got whatever it is. I got my musical things. I'm not Rick Beato, but he's like if he's, you know, if it was sung in B, he would sing in A. He would say like they dropped everything down a full step, so that he didn't have to hit the high notes, and still he couldn't even hit those notes. And it reminded me a bit of seeing McCartney. And when I saw McCartney in 2019, he played Dodger Stadium, and that show his voice was not great. It had like a quiver in it, but he still carried the show. I still left there, and then Ringo came out at the end. That probably had something to do with it, but it was still one hell of a show to see. And then I saw him last year, and it was hard to watch. It was actually, I felt for the first time bad for him, and I felt bad for myself. Like I would never go see that show again for how much we paid. I mean, it was hundreds of dollars per ticket, and they weren't even great tickets. And then to go there and like not even carry the show, it was brutal. It was really hard to watch. And I guess that's the thing with getting older. You know, I am getting up in years, up in years, and to see these greats struggle, it's like, I'm not sure. I guess they're doing it because it's what they know. I doubt they're doing it for the money, because, you know, most of these guys have made their money by now, especially a group like Genesis, which still continues to sell gobs and gobs of records. And it just got me thinking we should talk about this on the show. What were some concert wins that you've seen, and some concert maybe losses, things that just didn't go right or were unfortunate, or like, why did I do this? Because I've seen the concerts I've seen Grateful Dead a bunch of times, including a spectacular night in Chicago. It was, I think it was their last show, or their second to last show they ever did, because Garcia died the next month. It was in July in Chicago at Soldier Field. And the drummer, Bill Kreutzmann, was he was a big Save the Whales fanatic. And a show I was working on, I was editing at the time, was this New Explorers show. And Bill Kreutzmann came in to screen it, and he did some interviews and stuff, talking about whale conservation and stuff to be included in the show. And he dropped off tickets for all of us who were working on the production. So we all went and got backstage, and Steve Winwood opened with Traffic. So we were walking around backstage, and like, there's Steve Winwood. and then we got real ballsy just before the show started, and we said, we just want to thank Mr. Kreutzmann for the tickets, and could we? And they said, well, he's kind of getting ready to do the show, and we don't think that's a good idea. And we said, well, just be real quick. They walked us up on stage 2 minutes before the band started. Right on stage, there's Jerry Garcia right next to me, tuning up. There's, everybody is there. And like, hi, Bill. We just want to say thank you for the tickets. Yeah, great, guys. Enjoy the show. We got to go. And we're just like walking off stage doing one of these, to the crowd. We were, it was quite a treat. And then proceeded to, hang out and watch the shows, both sets, the Traffic set and then the Grateful Dead set, which obviously they were the main attraction, and quite a live performance. I've seen them a number of times. But things like that, I was wondering if you guys have great stories similar, your own experiences. I remember going to a Yes concert at Alpine Valley and getting so drunk I threw up on the floor of the car in the back seat. It's great, just terrific stuff. Oh, I think this thing's on again. I think I've gotten a little foldback. Hang on. There you go. All right, sorry about that. I could hear a little foldback coming behind me. Let's get into the chat real quick, and then but I want to hear your concert experiences and things that you've seen. One of my best concerts I ever saw was George Thorogood and the Destroyers, and he was in his prime. It was just after Bad to the Bone was released, and he came to Chicago and played a very small theater. I want to say it was the Aragon Ballroom, and it was all folding chairs. And it just lit the place up. It was so small, and he was so loud, and it was so great. And I remember seeing it, and I saw Van Halen. I told this story, I think, on the show before. I saw Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, the first tour they did with Sammy after 5150 was released, in Carbondale, where I went to college, university, for those of you overseas. And they put it in our small little 8,000-seat SIU arena. They fit Van Halen. And my ears rang for 3 days, and it was spectacular. Up in the catwalks and running around, and they had to call. I remember the story that came through our news desk was they had to call the structural engineer of the SIU arena to make sure that the roof was strong enough to hold the Van Halen lighting trusses. It's like, it was something to see that, and Eddie in person and playing, and the two of them were, Sammy Hagar was no slouch on guitar either. Cheers, everyone. Let's get to some chat, and then we'll. Hopefully, you guys will chime in with some of your favorite concerts. Howdy, Ace of Spades. Howdy, cheers, Ken Workshop. Ken, I showed your stuff off last week. I hope you got to see that show. Kevin Jock, hey fellas, Audio Fool. Saw your stuff came in. You texted me. Thank you. Got your note. He told me that it was the best. Last week's live stream was the best show we've ever done. It had his system on it. So great. Hey, thanks for the system spotlight, his amp, and the kind words. To give credit where credit's due, this is based on a Kevin Gilmore design. Yeah, but you did it though, man, and that's the cool thing, Ken. You did it. You did it, and that's. I hope that you get to a point where you produce a couple of these things and just say, "Hey, I did this thing. Check it out." And like send it out, or if we can buy it, we can buy it. But you know, it would be fun. It would be fun to hear what you guys do. I know you're a hobbyist, and but as a fellow person in the hobby, we're interested, and a part of what makes this job interesting. It's the reason I won't buy custom IEMs. Because I want other people to be able to hear them. I want to be able to go, here, check this out, and put them in and watch them go, oh my God, you know, or, oh, that's awful, or whatever the reaction is. The sharing is like the community of this, and that's what I love. And even seeing your photos, I'm like, man, I'd love to hear that someday. I'd love to hear what you did. Not to critique, just to admire, for pure admiration of somebody who was so passionate about this hobby, they went out and tried something on their own. I think that's fantastic, man. I think that's fantastic. So cheers to you, Ken, and thank you for the photos. Again, if you guys have photos of your system at home, we're not here to like, why are you using a Massdrop XLR cable? We're not here to critique like that. We just want to oogle somebody else's cool stuff. You know, we just want to, we're in it for the fun of it, and there's no criticism going on here at all. It's just for fun. If you have that, send your photos to directorsgarage@gmail.com. directorsgarage@gmail.com. I swear to God, I'm going to do a graphic one of these days, because I have everything here. I just need to actually do it. Maybe I should do a tutorial on how to do a graphic for YouTube, for a live stream. So funny. Ace of Spades going to a concert tonight. I hope it's not Ace of Base, because then you'd have Ace of Spades at Ace of Base. God. A jam party band called the Free Radicals had a fun yacht rock concert last week. Who's playing at the yacht rock concert? Anybody we know? Snapple says he's drinking water. Not Snapple? Here's Doctor's order. Glad to join. Hey, Snapple 10. Here's I don't recognize your handle, so we always cheers people around here the first time they drop in. So cheers to you, buddy. Whatever you're drinking is good enough for me. Mr. Dynamite is drinking Tito's and Club with zero sugar and cran mango, hoping not to splash on his Susvara. It's going to get sticky, man, with cran mango. Goes to put them down. They won't go down. They're stuck to his hand like glue. I love it. That's great, man. That's great. Welcome to the live stream. Oh, that was Snapple who did that. It was Mr. Dynamite, who's been here before. I recognize the handle. Kevin Jock said he sold his final D8000 Pro last night, bought an LCD-4, and he's sending it to Audeze for a complete rebuild. I'm kind of... Hey, Kevin, email me and tell me what you're doing and what it costs, because I'm thinking about getting the... I kind of like that my cups. I bought a used set. I don't hide this fact at all. I bought a used LCD-4, and I love them. I absolutely love. They're a headphone that's staying. They're long term around here. I don't even, you know, unless somebody like offered me an absurd amount of money, which they won't. But I'm thinking about like maybe having the rings around the cups redone, because everything about it is fantastic. 2019 model. I think that's what mine is too. Paid $1,500 for it. Wow, great price for that, because I don't know if you've noticed, since they discontinued them, the old styles, those prices have shot up a bit. So if it's scratch and dent model, you know, nothing wrong with that. Go get them done. But I was thinking about sending them in to have the rings redone. But email me if you can, Kevin Chuck. I'd like to pick your brain about it. Drinking Ruby Red Hop WTR. That is a beer or an ale. Audio Fool's doing all right. Ken Workshop says, same on the crowd hassle of concerts. Yeah, I'm a little more of a shut-in these days, that's for sure. I haven't even gone back to the movies, really. I saw Top Gun last year, but I have not been back. Allie, the Mrs. Director, was hassling me about maybe going to see Barbie. You know, she wanted to see the Barbie movie, and I said, well, if we see the Barbie movie, then I want to see the either Indiana Jones or I want to see Oppenheimer, one or the other. So Mrs. Director may get her way, but then she's going to have to sit through Oppenheimer. But I have been anxious to go back. I'm like, it'll be out on video, and we got a nice big screen at home, and no big sound system set up yet upstairs. We're still moving in, but someday we'll get it all worked out. He learned a lot about listening, going to classical concerts at good venues. I used to go to Orchestra Hall in Chicago and listen to the Chicago Symphony, one of the great symphony orchestras in the world. And it's fantastic. Lincoln Center, oh, geez. Lincoln Center is amazing. That's an amazing venue. Orchestra Hall is good. The acoustics are really good in there, but Lincoln Center is next level. New York, and that New York Philharmonic is, that is hell of an orchestra. Favorite sound and logistics, Lincoln Center, where you can just hop on the subway after. Yeah, wow, man, that's you got quite a show there, Ken Workshop. Ken, that's awesome. Ace of Spades, he saw Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers when they were in their 60s at SPAC. What's SPAC? It was a 3-hour show. Wow. Must have been substances involved. Yeah. He enjoyed his substances, unfortunately. Man, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I never saw them live. They were one of our favorite bands, though, growing up. They were, you know, American Girl and Into the Great Wide Open, all of that. Yeah, it's awesome. Ace of Spades. That's awesome. That's great. Nephilim. Hi, made it, gents. Just home from work. And I got this to kick off a weekend. Excellent. Oh, yes. Genesis are sadly way past their prime. Oh, it was hard. It made me, I'm like, I guess it's all they know how to do anymore. You get to that age, it's like you've made your money, but I'm like, if I was a paying customer, I'm like, he just can't perform. He just can't hit the notes. He can't. And I'd invite you. I could share the link or something maybe later. But just YouTube Genesis London concert, and it'll probably pop up. It'll probably be one of the first things in the feed. And it's the full 2-hour, hour and 40 minutes or so. It wasn't even a long concert. And they had the hits. The hits were there, and Genesis has such an amazing catalog. But it sounded like an old man croaking out songs, and it was rough. It was rough, and I'm like, God, to be there to see that, I'm like, we've talked about this has been a lot of debate lately about Zeppelin for some reason. In Through the Outdoor just came out, In Through the Outdoor just had its 25th anniversary, I think, or something like that. It was just the anniversary of when it was released popped up in my Facebook feed, and there's a lot of debate about that album from Zeppelin's last album, and how it was a bad album and this and that. A lot of critics didn't like the album. I thought it was a Zeppelin album. I always gave it, they said, well, it was an unfitting way to end Led Zeppelin. And I'm like, well, a couple things to keep in mind. A, Led Zeppelin never intended that to be their last album, right? there would have been a follow-up to In Through the Outdoor had John Bonham not died, right? So there was no intent to end Zeppelin when they did In Through the Outdoor. It happened that Jimmy Page was going through some drug issues, and John Paul Jones kind of took some leadership of the band. But, you know, in a band like that, where they gave us Zeppelin 3, which is a straight acoustic record, and then Presence was such a, like, off the wall with bizarre timings and strange licks and stuff like that. Two of my favorite albums, by the way, not for nothing. I'm not picking on them. But what I'm saying is that they changed things up so much on from record to record. There were a couple of records that kind of sounded similar, but they were a diverse group, and they would go and do like druid music and weird stuff and mandolins and sound like and then just a crazy country song and this and that. And so In Through the Outdoor was more of a synth-based record. Well, so what? You know, that doesn't mean that was... And they had other songs in the tank, because the EP that came out, or when they released Coda, those 3 songs were from that era of Wearing and Tearing and Ozone Baby and Darlene. All those 3 songs came from... not from the In Through the Outdoor sessions, but they were going to release that as an EP prior to In Through the Outdoor. It just never came together. I'm like, they could still write, and they could still play, and they could still wow. So it was an album that they put together and said, well, this is a little more synthy and keyboard based, and, you know, and for reasons obvious to, you know, because Jimmy was struggling. I didn't think it was a bad album. I thought it was a pretty good album. It just was a different shade of Zeppelin, but Zeppelin always gave us different shades throughout their entire career. This was just a different shade. Well, it's not there's no epic on it. I'm like, well, I don't know. Fool in the Rain's pretty big, and Carousel Alhambra, it kind of goes on a little long, but it's an interesting effort. It's a very different sound. I enjoyed it. Anyway, and in the Evening, it's a fantastic song, you know. Even Southbound Suarez, you know, and I get that. And they say, well, Hot Dog was just a throwaway song. And I'm like, well, did you listen to the Crunge? You know, like, are we, you know, Crunge was just rehashed James Brown, and Hot Dog is just country music, you know, it's a country song. Anyway, there you go. That was just another tangent that I went on off of that. 2007, 2008 was the last great Genesis era. If you guys can get the Live Over Europe album, it's really good. I'll check it out. You know, I never saw Genesis in concert, I don't think. Not that I remember. No, I didn't see Genesis in concert ever, but I was a huge fan. They were a little oversaturated on Chicago radio, and there's a period of time where it was tough to listen to them. But I always would go back and listen to like Abacab, and the Mama album is crazy good. I think once they got to Invisible Touch, I started to like sort of lose a little bit of momentum towards getting excited about Genesis. But that Mama album is unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just a chart-busting album. So many good songs on that. That was just one of those track-to-track albums. You can't find anything bad on that record. Fantastic. Hey, Nephilim, happy Friday, Audio Fool says. Nephilim, you too, Bill. Happy Friday. Hope you're enjoying SACD land. Yes, cheers. I may be listening to nothing but music come Sunday because, or I'm going to be bringing the batteries in here if we're floating away. And if you missed the top of the show, a massive hurricane is heading for Los Angeles. It's heading right here, folks. I got a hurricane on the way. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing an amazing dead experience with us. Hey, John K. Cheers, buddy. We'll be listening to some SACDs this weekend. Hey, fellas, I haven't gotten into the SACD revolution. I just think that the streaming is so good, and then digital files are so good. Like, you know, you get a 192K file, 90, 192.24 or something. I'm like, that's a really good sounding file. I'm like, am I getting, but what am I missing? Because SACD, isn't that 88.2? Isn't that the format of SACD? What am I missing with SACD? Is this something I need? I do have one SACD in-house I bought by accident, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I just threw it on a shelf. I bought not Money for Nothing. What was the album? Brothers in Arms from Dire Straits. I have that SACD on a shelf or in my archive somewhere. But I never had a player. I always thought, and then I had it and I thought, well, maybe I can rip it. And I've never found something that could rip an SACD, which is odd because they can rip everything. I never figured out how to rip it off of any kind of player. And then I heard you could do it with a PlayStation, but I never figured out how. I don't know. You're very lucky to have that experience seeing Jerry. I never saw them with Jerry, but I did see them play with Phil Lesh. And when I was on the tour, they had Bruce Hornsby was playing piano. And I think that was their piano player through that era. And Bruce Hornsby... Bruce Hornsby told me I met him around the same time. We did a show out of Chicago called Center Stage, which was a revival of the old Soundstage, which came back as Soundstage years later. But at that time, we were doing a show called Center Stage, and Bruce Hornsby was one of the acts. And he came in. It was a co-production with VH1. Bruce Hornsby was a cool guy. He was really kind of nerdy and fun, and Bonnie Raitt was there for it. Bonnie Raitt, he had just released the album Harbor Lights, and Bonnie Raitt sang backup and harmony on the song Rainbow's Cadillac, and she played guitar on it. So she came, because he was touring that record, and he came to promote that on Soundstage, and he did a whole concert, and they do a rehearsal day, and then they do the show day the next day. So on the rehearsal day, we break for lunch, and Bruce Hornsby goes through the food line with everybody, like the whole crew. And he's just there on the line, in the food line, like with a tray, getting, whatever it was, chicken and whatever it was, and nice food spread. But it was odd to see the performer not like in a trailer with eating, I don't know, hermetically frozen sushi that was, bought from the dark seas of Japan and, hauled over, and, I don't know. It was just funny because it was Bruce Hornsby, like, come a chicken, on the tray. And he sat with us and he talked, and when he told us a story about playing with the Grateful Dead, and he said, Jerry, when I love playing with the band, and it's phenomenal. It's a great time. I just really enjoy it. He goes, but when I did my next solo tour, there were all of your fans were there. Like the Deadheads came out for my concert, and I'm like, he's like, I'm not used to like all these people dancing. I'm like, I do like kind of quieter music and stuff, and like to have all these people just like dancing in the aisles. And Jerry said, yeah, man, you got the curse. I guess it happened anytime somebody played with the Dead, they became Dead associated. John Mayer, same thing. People follow John Mayer, or the Deadheads follow John Mayer around. You got the curse, man. In his nasally voice. It was awesome. What a great story. Guys, if I was filthy loaded, I'd be flying to Can Jam London. God, that would be fun. I agree. My problem is I get to London, there's too many other things I want to do. I'm like, I want to go to Brixton. I love London so much. It's my favorite town outside of, like, if I had to move out of the country and I could afford it and I had unlimited money, London would be my town. I absolutely think it's fantastic. I love the people. I love the nostalgia of the place. I just love everything about that town. It's just one of my very favorite places on the earth. But it's so expensive, you can't live there. Good news, John K. says, sitting in the front row of Chick Corea in the Blue Note NYC with Steve Gadd, Ravi Coltrane. So this was a while ago, right? Good shows. Oh, good shows. I thought you were like tonight. I'm like, isn't he dead? Good shows. Sitting in the front row of Chick Corea in the Blue Note NYC. I can say this in English. In the Blue Note NYC with Steve Gadd, Ravi Coltrane, Frank Gambale, and Anthony Jackson. Oh my God. What a great... That's a show, man. That's a show. Oh, that's a good one. John K., cheers to you, buddy. Great story. Nephilim says his last concert was Iron Maiden 4 years ago. Those guys haven't lost much. I've seen a few guys like that. I saw the B-52s play some small little LA concert thing, like for... They had like a little... fair, like a street fair in LA, and they booked the B-52s for it, and it was amazing. I saw them at Pershing Square a couple years ago. I was blown away by how good they sound still. And Kate Pearson, I had no idea she's 70. I had no idea she was. I thought she was, a couple years older than me. No, they were an older band when they finally made it. In the late 70s. Yeah, that was a great concert, though. I was all in on that. Not much of a stage show because it was a small little like festival stage, but I could just listen to her sing forever. That band is phenomenal and so much fun. What a great... They've never taken themselves seriously, and they just had a great time, and they made a living doing it and sold a ton of records. Good for them. John K., that was a good one, amazing one. A less than good one was Bob Dylan in a big stadium far away from the stage, and that bad sound. Dylan was great, but a very bad experience. That's hard, yeah. That's a hard one. I always wonder, now I saw Simon and Garfunkel in 1982 when they got back together. Simon and Garfunkel did a reunion tour in 1982. In 1981, they played a concert in Central Park, New York, where it was like 300,000 people showed up. I can't imagine being in the back of that and having a good experience, other than to say you were there, because you were so far back, you wouldn't have even seen specs. And they didn't have HD TV back then, so even the video screens were like ass. So I can't imagine that was a good one. But I did see them at Comiskey Park, the old Comiskey Park in Chicago in 1982. The next year they toured. They did a couple of cities. It wasn't a big, huge tour, but it was playing that same set from the Concert in Central Park album. The story was... Paul recorded Hearts and Bones. It was a smaller album in the early 80s, and it was like 1981, I think he recorded that album, or 1982. And Art was supposed to sing harmony. It was going to be a Simon and Garfunkel reunion album. And he actually wrote a song for Carrie Fisher on that album. And one of the lyrics is 1 1/2 Wandering Jews, and that was written for Carrie Fisher those two were married. Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia married Paul Simon at one point. Entertainment news, boys. That's what I do. But they had gotten married, and Paul, at the last minute, they were about to release the album, and Paul went in and erased. I don't know if there was a rift after the tour or what happened, but he went in and erased all of Art Garfunkel's vocals off the record and laid his own harmonies in. Talk about the reunion that could have been, and I wonder if that tape exists or if he legit went in and erased Art's work on that record. But it really put a rift in them for another number of years. Because Art was like, I sang it, And they had gotten together once before. They did My Little Town in the mid-70s on Paul's album. What was the album? It was Still Crazy After All These Years. My Little Town has Art singing backup on it. It was beautiful. Their harmonies were phenomenal, but boy, they are oil and water. And then I saw them do a small set at something in Palm Springs. It was an award show. It was some award show in Palm Springs, and I don't remember the award show. Maybe on the film festival, but I don't think it was. Anyway, I was there for some award show, and Simon and Garfunkel were there. They were accepting an award, and they went out and they sang Homeward Bound and I think Parsley Sage. I don't think they did The Boxer. I don't remember. But it was live. It was just it was about maybe 7 years ago or so, 8 years ago. And then there's a whole story that Paul Simon I have a harder time with now, because there's a whole story about how he screwed over, I don't want to talk out of turn, but there's a whole, Google Los Lobos Paul Simon. There's a good article about Paul Simon ripping off Los Lobos. It's like eye-opening. And then some of those later records where he got into some trouble that he was, what do they call it when you borrow somebody else's culture? There's a word for it. I can't remember. Anyway, there was a story about how he'd been misappropriating other cultures. He's particularly when he did Graceland, there was a blowback on that record. Won a ton of, great album, won a ton of awards, but years later it was cultural appropriation. And they years later that got a little blowback, saying he just was appropriating African culture. And that's, how is that cool? Anyway, read the Los Lobos story. Los Lobos is a band I still want to see, by the way. Have not seen them. Michael, glad he could catch you live. This is Corton Coulon. Well, man, cheers. Corton, I think I've seen your name here once or twice before. But anyway, I'll drink to anything. I'll drink to you. Glad to catch you live. What would you choose between the D8000 Pro, Meze Elite, Yamaha 5000 SC, or Calderas for metal exclusively? Well, I don't listen to a ton of metal, but I would push you toward maybe the D8000 Pro. That's a tough call. I mean, the Calderas are of those four, the Calderas, I would order those as Calderas first, Meze Elite second, for my preference. It's a foreshadowing of my Yamaha 5000 SE return. Nothing wrong with the Yamahas. I'm just saying, like, in terms of my preference, after listening to them for a long time, I would personally want the Calderas or the Elites because they do everything. For metal, the D8000 Pro isn't going to be a bad choice. It's a very physical sound. Yamaha is pretty good, though. I don't know. Maybe somebody who's really into metal, like loves metal, and that's all they listen to, would chime in and give you a better... personally, I would choose the Caldera because it's the best bang for the buck for the money. You're sitting at or under $4,000, and you get better sound than any one of those four headphones. It's a no-brainer for me. But if you're looking for metal and you want that driving sub, it's going to be the Yamaha or the D8000 Pro. Because the Calderas are great and they have great bass, but they don't slam like those other two. Honestly, like if I was doing, if why spend that much money? Go find yourself an LCD-4, which has got aggressive, hard-hitting, thumping bass, phenomenal headphone. You can headbang with it because they're so heavy. It's heavy metal. I would do that. If I'm gonna be honest with you, what I would tell you to do is go buy an LCD-4 used, old OG, like 2019, and enjoy it. What pads do you have on the LCD-4? In the review, it looked like you had perforated pads, but Audeze only sells smooth pads. Hipster Cow, I don't know what the pads are, to be fair. I think they're a ZMF variety, but they came like that. There were 2 mods done to the headphone before I owned them. It had an ultra-wide headband put on, which is so comfortable and makes that weight so much better distributed on your head that you don't mind the extra weight of the LCD4. And then the other thing I would say is, and then the ear pads, they're larger, thicker ear pads, and they're so comfortable. Wait, I got them back here. It's just, you're going to lose a video effect from me doing this. I'm pretty sure these are a ZMF pad, but they're really angled, and they're super thick in the back. Hope you can see that. I don't have my other camera up today. I can't show it to you, but against my white shirt, you should be able to see it. They're super thick, and I love them. I love the sound of it, and I have no reason to change. But what I would tell you is these are super angled. Look how thin they are on this side, right? And look how thick they are on this side. And I think these are probably a ZMF pad, if I had to guess. But I don't know. The answer is I don't know. They came that way, and they sound so good, I have no reason to change them. The only thing I did on this... No, I didn't do anything to this one. I didn't do anything to this one. I haven't changed the thing on them. And they're great. I love the headphone. I love the headphone. They're one of my very favorite headphones. Meze, not me. Yeah, I know. I picked that up. Adnan! Cheer! Adnan, I was just thinking about you the other day. I was like, what happened to Adnan? I saw you comment in like a Facebook something or other, and I'm like, Adnan hasn't shown up in a while, man. Cheers, brother. Oh, glad you could make it, buddy. I missed you. You know, we have regulars, and you've been a regular for so long. I kind of missed you. So cheers. Glad you could do it. Glad you could make it today. Oh my God, I'm way up. I'm way down on the thing. I got to catch up. I got to start reading through these because we're gonna go off the air soon. I got company coming over. I can't make this a 2-hour session today. Audeze LCD series has terrific stock pads. Can't complain here. Yeah, I don't have any issue. It's just this is the way it came, and it sounded great, and it's super comfortable, and I love a good squishy ear pad, and yeah. I don't know what they are though. Audio Fool. Monsters of Rock at Candlestick Park in 1987. Not the best concert ever, but pretty epic. It was a whole experience. Road trip, crazy time. Van Halen, Scorpions. Ooh, right there. That's enough. Metallica, Dokken and Kingdom Come. Remember Kingdom Come? Oh my God, that was amazing. That's amazing. You're just missing Cinderella and Poison to wind up the 80s big metal bands. Maybe Rat. Put Rat in there. Oh my God, that's awesome. What a great concert. That's killer. That's killer. Wife and I also saw Pink in San Diego. Amazing show. Mix of circus acrobatics and music. Surprised and impressed me. I've only seen her on video, and she's unbelievably impressive. I've met her in person, and it blew me away. Like, it's just a force of nature, and a good person, kind person. I did this whole tennis segment with her in Palm Springs, and she was totally game and wanted to play. I dreamed up some fun little skit for her to do, and she just totally rolled with it, and we had a great time. Absolutely fun and lovely, and what a great person. Nothing but great things to say about Pink. Really, you know, you hear stories about people. She's not one of the people you hear stories about. She's fantastic. Lovely girl. Lovely girl. And a great, just really together. Enjoyable. Metallica hasn't really lost anything either. Well, they're still relatively young like us, a little bit. Great concert performer. Speaking of which, their concert is in theaters today. 2,600 theaters worldwide. Amazing. They do that so that they can get eligible for the Oscars. They just release in enough theaters so that they can apply for an Academy Award. Because why not? I would. Oh, and Ozfest 2001 went for the music, survived the mud fight and chaos. Great story about Bruce. If you saw the Dead from 1990 onward, indeed, Bruce played with them until '92, along with Vince Welnick. Again, you're very lucky. I know. It was just I just have a lot of stories, and I have, like I said, I'm not like some crazy concert goer. I have friends in Chicago that every single weekend they would spend every dollar they had going to but concerts were a lot cheaper then too. I mean, you could get it, $32 would get you a good seat at a concert. $100 would be absurd, and you would get like front row. And now it's like, you know, in LA. If you wanted to go see Taylor Swift and get great seats, then you weren't lucky enough to get in with the Ticketmaster lottery, whatever the hell they were doing. It was going to be $9,000, $7,000, $9,000 for a front row seat to Taylor Swift. Not kidding. That's how LA is. When I went to, I think I told this story once. Fleetwood Mac. I almost saw Mick Fleetwood this week. I almost went to Hawaii to interview him. They just wound up not sending me. But anyway, neither here nor there. Fleetwood Mac opened the Forum. When the Forum got its makeover on the inside, Fleetwood Mac had a residency there. They did like 13 shows or some crazy shit. And they booked Fleetwood Mac, and there was the full reunion concert with Christine McVie when she first came back to the group a couple years ago, and it was before Lindsay stormed off on his tantrum. I don't know if he did or not. It was the other way around, to be honest with you. I don't know the politics that well. But anyway, nosebleed seats started at $700. Crazy, I was like, as much as I love Fleetwood Mac, and it would be great to see them play, and it would have been great to see them play before we lost Christine. No, not doing it. You can't pay me enough to see that. Yeah, there's a video somewhere of it, I'm sure. And I can save the $700 and watch it. I know people like, it's the experience of it, and you got to be there in person. Adnan, long time, Michael. Great new place. Thank you. Cheers. Nice to see more of you. You wish you could have been at Dave Matthews Band in New York Central Park. Dave Matthews is one of those like great tour bands, you know, but much better in person, I think, than on record. I still have some of his records, though. But I have a couple of live releases that came out. There was a series of live albums they produced for Record Store Day, and I have a couple of them, and they're really good. Very well recorded, sound good. Ken and I was at Ozfest in 01 and 02 in Palm Beach. Crazy shows. Awesome. Yes, Chick was just great and dearly missed. All-star band. Buddy Guy is touring now, too, by the way. Buddy Guy is coming out on tour. I'm like, boy, see him before he passes away. That's another one of these, like, you don't want to miss him. I'm sorry I never got to see B.B. King play before he died. I saw him like do a Grammy thing, but he was well past. He couldn't even walk anymore. It just wasn't. And I was sorry because he played B.B. King's in Universal once a year. He would play that. Anyway, and he would play with Buddy Guy. I think Buddy Guy was one of the people who'd come out and they'd do a little show together. Chick was just great. So really something special was in 2006. Yeah. Nephilim, how are you, man? Don, people catching up, love that. I guess I love the sound is really pristine. Then being a bit back away from the stage isn't so bad, but for that you need smart sound engineers and a budget to make it happen. I've seen the Rolling Stones a number of times. They have a great sound system live. I saw them. I can't remember the first time I saw them, but I know I saw them on the Steel Wheels tour. I know I saw them on the Bridges to Babylon tour. I saw Living Colour open for them. And then I had Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz on the Let Love Rule tour. That was his first record, Let Love Rule, before he was a thing. But I had heard that record on WXRT in Chicago, and I'm like, I want to see him. I was way more interested in going to see Lenny Kravitz because I had already seen the Stones a couple of times by then, and I thought I really want to see Lenny Kravitz. And then the Stones came out stage, and they're like, oh, I forgot it's the Rolling Stones. They're really good. They were great. John K said he sent me a message about one of the items you listed on HeadFi because he doesn't think he has your email. Great. No problem. I'll check it out, John. One of the coolest concerts he ever went to was Dragon Smoke and Mirrors. He was backstage editing during the show, but was able to hear the 2-hour sound check. They sound incredible. I have a number of experiences like that because I worked a lot of live production where I was actually, you know, like I was there, but I wasn't there. I was kind of working. Keith Richards. We did a Keith Richards concert. I wish my records were out. I could have pulled that record. I have a Keith Richards album that's signed by, I'm sorry, a Rolling Stones record, 2 of them that are signed by Keith Richards, including Let It Be. Let It Bleed. Let It Be. That's Beatles. That'd be great, though, if Keith Richards signed a Beatles record. Dude, what's this shit? Best for Metal LCD-4, and then Abyss. Good call, but Abyss is very expensive. He'd recommend the D8000 from Final. Good, man. Good. Original D8000. Yeah, there you go. ZMF makes the best pads. I think so. I also think... What's that guy who... There's a guy who was doing them on the side. He was making Fostex pads. His are really good, too. Trying to remember. Lawton is it Lawton I'm thinking of? They make cups and they also make pads, but they're really good. And then of course the Italian company. Come on, Michael. What are they called? Dang it! What's the Italian company? They come in a blue box. I've got a whole bucket full of them over there. Talk about... come on. The headpad company. Oh, they're really good. They make phenomenal ear pads. And they measure them. They'll show you measurements of them. Ah, dang it. Deconi, thank you. Divines Gaming, thank you very much. Deconi. Yes, Deconi makes phenomenal pads. The manufacturing of those pads are exceptional. Divines Gaming, hola. Kevin Jock says, LCD4 pads on Michael's unit are the Deconi Elite Sheepskin. If I'd only read one more down, I would have gotten the name. God, you guys are ahead of me today. Cheers. Happy Friday. Good ramblings today. I like all this interaction. I love your stories about concerts. Fantastic. It was a good topic. Deconi Elite Sheepskin. There you go. Hola, Mr. Michael Divines Gaming. He didn't end up liking his 1266 TC. He already sold them. All right. Fair enough. You gotta play with them though. That's a headphone that really needs some taking. You gotta take some time and you gotta be willing to work with them. What'd you go with, Divine Gaming? What'd you wind up buying instead? Good question. New recommendation: Government Mule. Oh yeah, I like Government Mule. They're good. Divines Gaming concerts are overpriced now. They've been worth it anymore. Major shame. Yeah, I know. Used to like $35. Like you could go pay $20 and get into a concert. You know, to be in the back, but so what? You could go check out the songs. You weren't going to see much, but so what? You know, it was fun to go hang. You can't do that anymore. It's going to be $100 just to get in the back. They wanted $750 for terrible Blink-182 tickets. Talk about a throwback group. I mean, you could maybe justify that if it were Red Hot Chili Peppers, but that's a hard pass for me too. But Chili Peppers sound great. I mean, they haven't missed that. That's a group that sounds as good today as they did when they in their heyday in the 90s. Here in Utah, front row for Red Butte Gardens is $80. So great deal. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna go to Utah. I've been to Utah. Lovely state. Love it. Tommy V says we love the 80s Def Rock, Def Leppard, Billy Idol, Motley Crue. Yep. Yeah, Def Leppard, man. I remember when the drummer lost his arm in the car accident. It was like unbelievable. We thought the band was finished and they came back. Unbelievable. Yeah, $7,000 for a concert ticket for Taylor Swift. McCartney was the same way. They were asking $5 and up for the front row, and I'm like, if I had paid that much money and then sat through that performance, I would have been like stabbing myself by the end of it. I'm like, and that was the concert that he did the duet. The big gag in that concert was he did the duet with John Lennon. He had Giles Martin strip. I think it was "Don't Let Me Down." No, it was, or was it "Two of Us"? I think it was "Two of Us." He did the song "Two of Us," and he had him strip out, isolate just John Lennon's part. No, it wasn't. It was something else. What was the song that... Such a controversial thing back then. If only I had a device here that could tell me all the information in the world. What was it? Clickbait. Stop clickbaiting me. And it's going to be a video, too. You just know it. It was something off Get Back, but I can't remember. No, it was I Got a Feeling. That was the song. He was doing I Got a Feeling. Now I remember. I didn't even get to the name of it in the thing. My brain remembered it before my fingers could. So anyway, he did I Got a Feeling, and with even then, for $5,000 he needed to resurrect John Lennon, and then I would have been impressed. Then it would have been worth $5,000, but he didn't. He had him on tape. They took the rooftop concert and isolated John's vocals for I Got a Feeling, and then played them back in time with McCartney, and he sang with John Lennon. So there you go. But yeah, $5,000. I want to see Lennon on stage in like a holograph from the grave. I still hate you, mate. I don't know, something. Ace of Spades says he'll get into music recs as well. Lunatic Soul. I'll check them out. I'll put that in my in my list. And I mentioned Genesis in the last episode. I did that whole thing, a little mini bio about Peter Gabriel and Genesis and how they split apart and why they split apart and how it all worked. Just like doing that. Last couple, guys, then I got to go. Do you mean N-Trax mod design? No, that wasn't what I was talking about. I think I was talking about Lawton. But anyway. Divine Gaming, sticking with the Susvaras, to be honest. Looking at LCD4s, 6 screws HE6s, though. I haven't experienced either. I have not done the HE6. They're really hard to drive, but I do have I have several amps here that could drive. I've thought about it, though. I've thought about the HE6. Hipster Cow. Cheers, Hipster Cow. Welcome. Friday. Sun Ra in Atlantic's Grant Park, 89. Mind-blowing. It was 3 great days of free jazz. Miles Davis closed the festival. Oh, dude. Man, that was right before he died, too. So cool. Would be interesting to have a Zoom meeting, audio-video, similar to this live chat. I know Michael brought it up before. We wouldn't have to read so much. I know. And if I ever get to the point where I'm making enough cash on this where I can have somebody kind of help manage the show and do that stuff and do a Patreon and all that, that's what I would like to do because I don't have time to do any of it. I would love to do a Patreon where people who are members, we could get into a Zoom chat. But it would be actually a source of revenue for the channel, which is like not the worst idea ever, fellas. I'm losing money by losing my shirt on this show day by day. I don't care. It's my hobby. It's my fun and it's fun and passion. But it would be fun if it made money too. If it didn't lose money. Would be interesting to have a Zoom. Yeah, okay, so we did that. Ace of Spades, gotta go. Time for the concert. Good for him. I'm gonna go too. Moderate the Zoom meeting instead with audio conversation might work. Well, the best part is too, I could use real music in a Zoom meeting because it's not a public airway. Preemptive congratulations on 5,000 subs. You know, I was up to like $49.92 one day, and I was like, oh wow, we're really close. And then YouTube did one of its adjustments where it kicked off a bunch of people who they had suspect accounts, and they canceled them. And I went down to like, what is it, $39.85 or $49.85. I was like, oh well, there you go. I'm like, I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. John Case, cheers. Thanks for staying safe and stay safe during the high winds. I know. This place, I hope it doesn't blow away. Good God, people. All right, guys, I'm going to start wrapping it up. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this walk down concert. I knew concerts would be a great topic. We'll do another one like that. You guys got great stories. You guys have even more stories, no doubt. I'm going to think of like 10 of them. Like, not that I've been, like I said, not that I'm some massive concert goer. I just know that I've got more stories in me with performers and seeing them live. And I watched Ashley Simpson from the Wings. That was interesting. That was for a job, but I had to do it. It was part of the job. And I sat there on the Wings and watched her maybe not sing live, sing less than live. All right. Cheers, everybody. I got to go. Have a great weekend. Have a great holiday. And there's no holiday, but I have a new show in the plan, but I have not shot it yet. So next week, maybe the week after, we'll see what happens. But it'll be out. It'll be IEMs and budget IEMs. It's a budget IEM show. Have some surprises in that one. I'm going to reveal a couple of headphones and focus on a brand, but we'll see if I can get some other stuff in too for that. I don't know. It's still a couple days away from shooting. I'm not ready. I just like unloaded 2 shows back to back, so need to take a couple of days to breath and catch up and survive the storm. Thanks for stopping by today. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys before you know it.